Welcome to Japanese 101, lesson 44. I don't know if you still want to call this 101. It's pretty advanced already, I would say. We are literally doing something that I grabbed from the advanced section from Taikim, but it doesn't really matter because the irony of advanced grammar is that usually it's actually easier than beginner grammar. And the reason for that is that you have a much broader context to work with, and you usually already understand the fundamental concepts because, let's be honest, some of the hardest things to learn in Japanese are some of the most basic things. How to use the copula, proper sentence structure, verb conjugation, right? Whereas some of the more advanced grammar topics, the reason for this, if we were to sort them by complexity, it wouldn't make sense, right? That's kind of the issue with it. If we sort grammar by complexity, we end up doing stuff like the causative, like way after everything else, basically. Not everything, but a lot of things. Or the passive, but we would see it all the time. So it makes more sense to learn about it sooner or earlier, even though in terms of complexity, it actually is more than a lot of the other topics that you might do. And for today's topic, that's certainly true. Today, we're going to talk about sort of setting minimum expectations or setting minimums with desae and sae. What does your shirt mean? It just says mutsumatto or matto mutsu or whatever. I don't know, it just says 6. I don't know what it means, it's just a brand. Matto could be like mat or anything, I don't know. So, today, I'm going to talk about sae, and then later we're also going to talk a little bit about sura, which is very similar, it's basically the same. But the main topic today is talking about sae and to set minimum expectations. What that means, I'll talk about in a bit. First of all, I've come prepared, once more, talk about the formation. Look at this, beautiful. No more waiting for Eve to write down all of his stuff, because he's come prepared, as he has done recently, as he has learned to do, because it's pretty important. So, sae usually attaches to two things. It usually attaches to either a noun, or nouns, or verbs. And that's basically it, right? There's not really anything else you can attach sae to. For nouns, you have options. You can use either asserting dominance. Oh yeah, can you... staring right into your soul. I'm staring into your soul and I'm judging for your soul for its lack of grammar knowledge. It's not okay. We're going to fix that today, together. With nouns, you have some options. Basically, you have two options. You can say sae or desae. There's not really a difference there, just that desae is maybe a bit more emphatic. It's a little bit more emphasized. But the formation part of it is very straightforward. It's literally just that you take the noun and you add either sae or desae, and that's it. Been called out yet again, yes. I have an example here. Watashi sae, right? Watashi sae. That's basically it. As long as I is basically how that will read. We'll talk a little bit more about how exactly to interpret sae in the next slide. I guess you can call it a slide. But for now, I just want to tell you where you might find it or where you might want to put it. So for nouns, that's it. You either just put sae or desae after the noun. For verbs, you have two options. These two here are essentially one group. I made a little shorthand here, as you've probably seen me do a few times, which is I will do this, and sometimes I will do both versions. I'll do this for the te form, right? This is essentially just my shorthand for the te form. And I've just written down both versions because, as you hopefully know, some te forms end in te and some end in de, depending on what verb you go with, right? So that's basically that. Now here, I made two examples, one for each, plus also one that is a, must stem. So the other one being, of course, the must stem, which also hopefully you know, just the stem form, the form that you would have with must without the must part. All of our favorite verb, taberu. So taberu becomes tabe sae. You. A te form here, itte sae, and yomu becoming yonde sae. There you go. So those are your three different verbs here. This is an ichidan verb. We have a godan verb with yu, and we have another godan verb with yomu. These both conjugate either to te or de, like that. And then ichidan verbs, of course, also would just conjugate to tabete sae. That would be okay as well. Which JLPT does sae is, I have no idea. I can tell you though that it's fairly common, so you will see it all over the place. You will see it in pretty easy sentences as well. So whether it's JLPT 3 or 1 or 2, it doesn't, 3 plus, I don't know. Everything above JLPT N3 becomes kind of blurred for me. Like I don't really, it's all just like stuff, I guess, but yeah. But it's going to be very useful to you either way. Why it's not the te form for Ichidan, it's just how it is. No, this is just, here, maybe wasn't quite clear, but this is supposed to be the equivalent to the must stem, and then these two here are supposed to be these. There is no reason why you couldn't have tabete sae. That's fine. You can have te form for Ichidan and Godan verbs, it doesn't matter. This is just sort of to illustrate one for each of these. I could have chosen a Godan verb here as well, and have like iki sae or something like that for iku, to go, but there is really no deeper reason why I didn't go with having like a non-Ichidan verb or having an Ichidan verb here. It's simply to illustrate that you can have either must stem or te form. Those are the two cases. It's nice to have like these pre-written things, because then I can delete without worrying about like deleting my stuff. Behold my stuff. Now, again, I will emphasize this. It's only the nouns that take desae. You actually can't add a desae to the must stem or the te forms. That's only for the nouns, okay? And again, adding desae is just adding a little bit more emphasis. And that's all it is. There's not a difference beyond that, really, for desae and sae, as far as nouns are concerned. Adjective sae. So generally, you wouldn't use it for adjectives, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit about why that is in the next slide. So let's see. Can get rid of this, and we're going to look at this. So what is sae, right? Like, what does it even do? Generally, sae will mark like a minimum required thing or action. Because noun plus de, the te form of nouns. Desae because noun, yeah, essentially. That's really essentially it, is that the de in desae is already kind of like the te form of da, so you kind of already have that in there, and then you wouldn't want to have a te form followed by another te form. That doesn't really work. So yeah, that is, I haven't really thought about that. That is most definitely true. So yeah, you wouldn't, the truth of the matter is still that you can add desae or sae to nouns, but not to verbs, and that is probably the reason. Yeah, that's true. So the reason you wouldn't add it usually to adjectives is because adjectives describe like states or how things are. They describe things, but sae is used to express like a minimum thing or action that one can possess or have or that exists there that will enable you to do something or that you will like think is minimally expected. For example, like when you want to express that as long as I have this, I can live, you could use sae to express that. More specifically, these would be sentences like you will see, let me make this white, you will see stuff like kore sae areba, right? And you've probably heard this, right? I would wager that you've probably heard this, even if you are unaware or if you don't remember. This is like a very common pattern. Areba. And then it just kind of continues here. Kore sae areba, which is just kore sae, like this, which is the minimum required thing. And then here we have the verb aru for it to exist. So as long as I have this, there will be plenty of example sentences. You need to be this selfless to enter heaven. Need. Yeah, it expresses like a minimum, right? You can also say that, you can also make like negative statements with it to say like, not even that, right? 少なくても. Yeah, I guess 少なくてもこれがあれば、これがある限り. I guess 限り is kind of more similar, like it. But yeah, 限り is more like, actually, have we talked about kagiri? Maybe I should make a whole lesson about kagiri. That's probably good as well. But they're all similar in that way. Just think of it as a minimum condition that you want to express. And then if you do it with a negative, like you can express the fact, you can like emphasize that fact that it's like not even that. Like I thought it would be enough, but like even with that, it wasn't enough or something like that. Let's look at let's actually go look at example sentences to make this much more clear. So, get rid of this. I have some examples. First of all, let's look at this one. 宿題が多すぎてトイレに行く時間さえなかった. Right? So here is our like thing that we had like minimally 時間さえ, or I should probably here include the whole relative clause, which starts here with トイレに行く時間. Which what is this, right? It's essentially just means time to go to the bathroom or go to the toilet, right? Time to go to the bathroom. And then さえなかった. So not even that, right? 行く時間もなかった. Yeah, you can also use も. さえ in this case is a stronger emphasis, saying トイレに行く時間もなかった. That's more neutral. It says, it also is like slightly emphatic with も. Thank you for following. 外人。外国人です。フォローありがとうございます。時間もないほどだった。ないほど。Oh, I guess. Yeah, I guess you could say that. It was to the extent that I didn't have time. We're getting a little bit lost with like other ways how you could say it. It's usually with these phrases, the way I see it is a change of focus. So with hodo, I would focus on an amount of sorts or a degree. So with hodo, usually you focus on some sort of degree. So you could say it was to the degree such that something was the case. But with sae, you focus much more on this thing that you were expected to have as a minimum. Usually with negative phrases like nakatta here is negative. With negative, the connotation usually be that like you would usually assume to have at least that.
Hello.
Hey,
How
thank
are
you,
you
Wessa,
doing
for
tonight?
the
glad you
resubscription.
asked. I'm doing fine. And you?
Oh,
that's great to hear. Well, I'm doing fine too. Perfect.
イブ先生さえいれば勉強も順調に進むはずだクルキャット。
Yeah, there you go. That's a good example sentence. So the negative ones with nakatta here, you emphasize the fact that you would assume there to be at least that, right? But it wasn't there. So that this strong emphasis on like トイレに行く時間さえなかった, like not even that. I didn't even have time to go to the toilet. You don't need ga. Formal sae doesn't need it. Can you be more specific? There is no ga. トイレに行く時間さえなかった. Yeah, you could have ga. You mean here, right? Ga なかった. That doesn't really... I don't think there's like too much of a formality issue here, but トイレに行く時間さえがなかった. I don't even... It seems kind of weird with ga, to be honest. Man, it's good that I have you people here. You always ask questions that I didn't even think about, and then I have to like think about it. I wouldn't add it. I have to say it to hear it. トイレに行く時間さえなかった. I don't usually hear things like a ga after sae. I drop particles as well with friends. Yeah, but there's like a difference. So, あなたさえいれば. I don't think you add particles like ga or o after sae. I don't think you do that. It sounds weird to me. Like, yeah, it sounds weird to me. I do not think you would add ga. This more like it takes the place of the particle here. Yes, I do think so as well. I think this is like a situation of where you would have mo, right? Like obviously mo is like a different mo is like one of those cases where I guess with mo you do this first, right? You have mo which would take the place of ga or o. So yeah, I will go on a limb and say don't add ga after sae. It sounds weird to me. I wouldn't do it. I think sae should take the place of the subject marker or the object marker. I think that's pretty... I don't think we have any... I can check. I don't think I saw a single sentence today that had it there. And it doesn't make sense to me for it to be there. It doesn't sound correct. So I will wager that it should replace the particles. I can find confirmation for that, but I would bet money that it would, because it just sounds so wrong with the particle. So I don't think it's a matter of formality. I think it literally replaces it. Yeah, there you go. Ayomi-san, konnichiwa. Thanks, that was my doubt. Yeah. Study both English and Japanese. I love it. Well, there you go. So here we have, right, this sentence, 宿題が多すぎて. So there was so much homework. 多い means a lot, right? 多すぎて means too much. We've already talked about すぎる. So if you've forgotten about すぎる, then I have a lesson on that. I'm not sure if I've uploaded it to YouTube yet. I should get back to that. But yeah, that would be a thing if I have it uploaded on YouTube that you could review. And then トイレに行く時間さえなかった. So didn't have, wasn't there, not even the time to go to the toilet. So there was so much homework, I didn't even have time to go to the toilet. That's what this means. Let's go to example sentence número 2, which is this one. お金さえあれば何でも何でも I didn't read the sentence properly when adding the furigana. 何でも usually. 何でも that's what you get when you don't read your sentences properly when adding furigana and just look at the kanji like a blind man. Not that there's anything bad about being blind, okay? There you go. Fixed my furigana. お金さえあれば何でもできるよ. Well, I made it. Thank you for making it, Beth. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of this community. Here we just have, again, here is the minimum required object, right? So minimum required thing. And again, you don't have ga. お金さえがあれば. This sounds like horrible. I would never. Yeah. そういえば、火曜日配信なかったね。そう。昨日はね、結局はしなかった。でも明日はするかも。確かに。明日の昼配信はするかも。Minimum required thing. And here in our case it would be money. So usually, right? Usually, there's two ways. In the positive, you would usually translate sae as long as. Like as long as this. It's the minimum, right? As long as. And with the negative, you would say not even. That's most of the time you can go either one of those two ways. Here you emphasize, with the positives, you usually emphasize that is the bare minimum. And with the negative, you emphasize that it would be expected to be the minimum, but it wasn't the thing. 何でもできるよ. Yes. That's why I am once again asking for your support. Just kidding. お金さえあれば. And then here we have our conditionals, of course. You will often see this especially. I even made the example, right? Like これさえあれば. This combination you'll see a lot. It's like one of the prime combinations is either さえあれば, さえいれば, or some sort of さえ plus conditional. Because it lends itself to it. It's like, if as long as this, then something else, right? It's like a very straightforward way to make that kind of phrase. So you will see these kinds of さえ plus conditional very often. And then 何でもできるよ. You can do anything, or I can do anything. In these sentences, as so often, we have like ambiguous subjects. So we could substitute any subject we like. We could make a subject of I or you or he. It doesn't really matter in this case. As long as you have money, you can do anything, etc., etc. We could even argue that there could be two different subjects for each like thing here, but that's less likely. That would be, I think, grammatically possible, but it wouldn't really make sense logically speaking, because why would you be able to do something with someone else's money? So yeah, I would argue that logically speaking, it should be the same subject here. Even though sometimes you could argue subjects could change implicitly from one clause to the other, but this shouldn't be the case here. But that's a tangent, doesn't really matter. All right, let's look at the next sentence. I think I have, I have 4 examples for this one. ビタミンを食べさえすれば. This is a good one as well. Here we have a verb for the first time. Let me mark this. We have a verb, ladies and gentlemen. ビタミンを食べさえすれば健康が保証されますよ. There you go. This might be something that your health teacher says to you or something. I don't know. Even though, I guess vitamin, usually these are, vitamin, I think, if I'm not mistaken, vitamin are usually like supplements and not just the vitamins. But you can also get them from fruit and stuff. So you're good, okay? ビタミンを食べさえすれば. So here we have our verb in stem, right? I'll shorten this to just say it's verb in stem form, right? This is our stem form. せやろか?せやろ?せやな. This is our stem form. And then here's another combination that you will see very often, which is you will have some sort of like verb in combination with sae, and then you'll often have suru. Right? Tabe sae sureba. And then here we have the minimum required action, right? So the minimum required action is eating your vitamins. And then ビタミンを食べさえすれば健康が保証されますよ. As long as you eat your vitamins, your 健康, which means your health, good health, 健康, which is good health. I think that's 平凡. We can go check. That's why we have the dictionary. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why you have learned this dictionary. So you can always check. If you're not sure about a pitch, just go look it up. But I'm pretty sure. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be just 平凡 accent. And look at that, it is. 健康, healthy. Health. And 保証, which is also 保証. I think it's also just 平凡. Yeah, 保証. There you go. Learn the iOS app. Is there an iOS app for his dictionary? I don't actually use my phone much for Japanese stuff anymore. So as long as you eat your vitamins, whichever you prefer, you British and American people, you'll be fine. Your health will be guaranteed. Ahoy! 保証. Now we're with 保証. That's a different one again. Keep health? Yeah. Guaranteed health. Does that... What is this one? Oh, it's just a different spelling. Okay, interesting. I haven't really seen this one much. I will admit. I was thinking more of sawaru, which means to interfere with. So it's kind of strange. To be harmful, right? It seems strange to me. Mr. Betskit, thank you for following. Follow, ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。ムラムラするな。しないでください。今はそういう、なんていうか、そういう時間じゃないんだから、そういう場面じゃない。Alright. Number 4. Yes, I have 4 of them. Look at that. I also have one with te form. Here we kind of have another thing. 一言言ってさえいれば、入れれば、言ってさえくれれば。Sorry, I can't read. I'll start over. 一言言ってさえくれれば、こんなことにならなかった。So there's like a lot of, yeah, especially if it's all hiragana like this. Look at this. Look at this beautiful string of hiragana over here. Man, and it's not even, the thing about this is it's not even simplified. This would literally just be in hiragana most of the time. You might argue that koto could be in kana. Like you might see like koto, like koto and kana, but you know, this might literally just be in hiragana and you have to like deal with it. These are usually the ones that trip me up when I read for myself or out loud. It's like a lot of hiragana. So, 一言言ってさえくれればこんなことにならなかった. Once again, we have a conditional. Like I mentioned, there is very often going to be conditionals combined with these. They don't have to be, but it's just very common to have them because when you're talking about these minimum requirements, then yeah, there you go. And you can also see the positioning here of sae, which is very interesting actually. It sandwiches in between the te and the auxiliary. So here you have your verb te, and then here you have your auxiliary with kurereba, which is it's conjugated into its conditional form, but that's the auxiliary over here. And then the sae is kind of sandwiched in between. Now, the only other thing that I know that does this is the wa particle for contrast. So the other thing that you might see do this is te wa. So, for example, in te wa ikenai, right? That's not how you write ikenai. Close enough though, I tried. So, te wa ikenai. Could you repeat the meaning? Yes, I actually haven't even gotten to the meaning yet. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that you can see how it's similar in terms of positioning here, that the sae, for its emphasis here, sandwiches in between, just like a wa would. Wait, I think I missed when we do te sae and when we do mas stem sae. The reason here that we do it is really that what you want to express in terms of action. It's just that if you have a te form plus auxiliary, you sandwich it between the te form and the auxiliary. So think about adding sae as like a post action. Like sae is like something you add afterwards. Not really. You just come up with a sentence right away. But think of it as like your original sentence or your original action. What you're thinking about is itte kureru. And you say, if only you had told me if only you told me this one thing, hitokoto itte sae kurereba. And then you just add it in between the te form and the auxiliary. Or if you have iru here, right? It could be iru, itte sae ireba. That works as well. Right? Does that make sense? Itte sae ireba. If only you were saying this. You think about what it is you want to express, and then you add sae at the appropriate point to emphasize the minimum required action. So hitokoto itte sae kurereba. If, right, we have the if over here. If you told me this one thing, or if you just said one thing, right? If you mentioned it at all, konna koto ni naranakatta, it wouldn't have come to this. It would not have happened like this, right? So you're essentially saying like, the minimum thing you should have done, or if you had done the minimum thing, which is tell me one thing, just say one word, then it wouldn't have happened. But you didn't. Kind of tripped me up until I realized it actually works like wow. Yeah, I think comparing it to, well, sandwiching in between forms like this is very straightforward. That way you can kind of think about it like that, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Is hitokoto ii sae kure? Well, that would be wrong, because think about taking away sae, right? I'm gonna just make some space. The reason that would be wrong is if we have i, it would still have to work without the sae there, right? So if we have i and then sae, and then what did you do? Kureba. So kureru. Man, my kana keep getting smaller. Kureru. Right? Now if we take away sae, suddenly this doesn't work anymore. I kureru. That doesn't make sense. So it has to actually work in terms of the auxiliary. Wow, what an ugly sa there. Itte sae kureba. Itte sae kureru. Would 自由に生きてさえいれば. Yeah. 気が済む. Be grammatically correct. Yes. 生きてさえいれば. Yeah, that's grammatically correct. Because you, like, again, the way to think about it is you can think about it as adding sae afterwards. So you think about what it is that you want to say. You want to talk about living. 生きている. And you want to use that te iru to emphasize the state of it. Like you want to emphasize 自由に生きている to be living free, to be in the state of living free. And you want to emphasize that is the minimum you want to do for you to be at peace, 気が済む. Then the place to add sae would just be between the te form and the auxiliary, which in your case is iru. That's just it, right? There you go. And again, that's more of like a until you get it kind of way of thinking about it, because obviously when you just want to express this, you would just start with that. But that's always how it works, right? You when you learn about a language or a grammar point, you kind of have to think about it really hard, and you maybe have to think about it in like steps. Like conjugation works like that too, I think. When you think about conjugation, for example, you want to do like, oh, I want to do te form, and then I want kuru, te kureru, but it needs to be, okay, it's te form and then it's kureru, right? And then right, and then I want to make it a conditional, so I get rid of the ru again and I add ba, right? Okay, yeah, there you go. But once you've gotten used to it, you would just say te kureba right away, because you already know that's where you want to go. Your brain starts doing all this heavy lifting for you, luckily. この配信見てさえもいなかった. I don't think you can combine さえ with も. For the same reason that we talked about earlier, that it takes like the same reason why you wouldn't put ga there. It sounds wrong to me. この配信見てさえこの配信見てさえいなかったら勉強にならん。この配信見てさえいなかったら If you aren't at least watching this stream, you won't learn. Yeah, I guess. It gets a bit confusing with like the double negatives and stuff. I think I've seen さえも君さえも maybe. I have to think about it. Have we seen Saemo? Maybe. I'd have to think about it. We have to look it up actually. I'll try and like see Saemo. Saemo. Ah, yeah, see, so Saemo you can have. There you go. But let's see. Sae. Puro de sae. Nihonjin de saemo. I guess if you want to add sae and then with like the inclusiveness of mo, yeah, not the same. Yeah, ga I don't think you have, but mo you might. You're right. But I'm not sure if you would have it in that sentence. この配信見てさえもいなく. If you aren't even watching this stream, like you aren't doing other things as well, but also this, you're not watching the stream, you could have it there. Maybe you could actually have it there. You can read about it here. I found, man, why does copy paste not only work like half of the time now? Paste, for frick's sake. There you go. Aru aru, yeah. So you can have mo, but you shouldn't have ga. So you can read about it here actually. Sae sae mo. There you go. You are right. All right. Now, did I? Yeah, I did the fourth sentence. Ore sae mo. Yeah, like even me. This is advanced for me, but I think I'm at least getting the gist. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Now I can get rid of these. So these examples we're done with. And now I want to talk about just sura. Sura is pretty easy in this case. Grammatically speaking, it just goes where sae goes, but it's primarily used with nouns. You don't usually use it with verbs. I don't think I see it much with verbs. I'm not sure if it would be like 100% rule, but yeah, I would learn it as you would replace sae, but usually when it's combined with verbs. When it's combined with nouns. Did I say verbs? I meant nouns, okay? It's written down here. Primarily used with nouns, but the meaning of it is the same for the most part. It's essentially just like kind of an older version. Sura, sae. They mean the same, and they're grammatically identical as well. There's not really much of a difference there. So here what I'll do is I will literally go straight to the examples, and we're just gonna look at 2 examples for this one. And then we'll see what goes. What do they mean by older? Usually it means that, usually when the word older is used, it means like more archaic. So that probably means that fewer people are, you will see it fewer. It's not going to be as common. And the places where you might see it are more like maybe formal or more archaic settings. Or if you have older people, they might use it more preferred than younger people, stuff like that. Just kind of like for example, in English, a word that could be considered older would probably be something like whom. Like at this point, right? Not a lot of people use whom anymore. Like it's pretty accepted to always use who, even though whom does have its place, but you could probably consider it kind of older, because it's kind of starting to not get used anymore. Whomst. I learned the existence of whom when I was 18. Yeah, I don't know when I learned about whom. I think when I was 14, a grammar lesson at school, but yeah. So, I'm just gonna show you 2 examples for this one as well. 私は緊張しすぎて、ちらっと見ることすらできませんでした。Here you go. This is the same. ちらっと見ることさえできませんでした。There's really no difference here. Just a different way of saying it, and it maybe seems a little bit more like more archaic, but it's not by much, to be honest. I would reasonably speaking, you might as well hear this compared to sae. It's probably just more of like a numbers thing. Like you'll probably see like, I don't know, like maybe 70% of the time you'll see sae, especially because it's also used with verbs, and sura isn't really used with verbs, at least right now it isn't, as far as I know. So you probably see like 70% sae, and then like 30% you might see like sura. This might lean even more towards, if anything, this might lean more towards sae because of how you can't attach sura really to, sorry, I did suru, it's sura. Of how you can't really attach it to verbs. So yeah, that's like kind of what I can tell you. Sometimes if you use whom in English, you sound kind of like a know-it-all. Yeah. Or it just sounds very proper. Yeah. あいつの言葉を信じてさえいなければこんなことにならなかった. Yeah, there you go. You get it. If only I hadn't trusted his words, then it wouldn't have turned out like this. この配信さえ見ていれば N 本合格間違いなし。そう？それはいいね。それなら嬉しい。だとしたらね。There you go. You heard it here first. So what do we have? 私は緊張しすぎて。So I was so nervous. I was too nervous. 緊張しすぎて。Again with すぎる。チラッと。チラッと is just an interesting one. It's like a glance, right? It's a glance basically. It's not a noun. チラッと here is actually an adverb. And it acts adverbially to 見る. So it just describes the manner by which, or the matter, or the way in which you look. ちらっと見る. It just means to take a quick glance. It's just like, and you're gone, right? That's basically what it is. So it's one of those common, like, I don't know if you want to call them that. You could call them like, I guess, と adverbs. It's like one of those と adverbs, like ちらっと or ちょっと as well, actually. ちょっと works just the same way. Or you can also have a lot of onomatopoeic expressions that work like that. For example, something like... Can I think of something? Something like ドロドロと or something like that. Like in a muddy way, I guess. You can have like tons of them. That's not really the point of this sentence though, but yeah. Keep accidentally deleting my underline there. ちらっと見ることすらできませんでした. And then here, just a glance, not even. Again, we have the negative. Always look out for those negative conjugations. So we know this is negative. So here it's like not even. If you remember what I said, generally with negatives, this whole thing will turn into a not even. Not even that, right? Like not even the minimum thing. Which is ちらっと見ること, just a glance, and then I couldn't even throw a glance at someone, right? 私は緊張しすぎて、ちらっと見ることすらできませんでした. I was so nervous, I couldn't even glance at something, at her or whatever, at them. 読めばわかるけど、使うつもりない言葉のリストに追加。いいんじゃない? You should use it. It's actually super useful. Especially さえあれば. さえあれば, you should, I think さえあれば or さえすれば or stuff like that, you should add to your vocab. It's actually really useful. If you want to just explain to someone like, that's all I need, right? You can be like, その、食べ物さえあれば、その、I don't know, 十分な、I don't know, 十分な、おいしい料理さえあれば、私は幸せにいられる. Like, as long as I have delicious food, I can be happy. Something like that, right? I feel like there's a lot of applications for this. And then here we have another interesting one. この天才の私ですらわからなかった. This sounds very condescending, but it's a kind of a fun sentence, especially because it uses one of those things that that Japanese uses, but I feel like English doesn't make use of, and when you use it in English, it sounds really weird. It's describing the I pronoun. I feel like this is something that Japanese does, but English tends to not do. You can do it in English, but it usually sounds weird. In Japanese, you can do it in ways that doesn't sound weird, which is like, yeah, describing the I pronoun is just describing the first person pronoun. コロナがないさえあれば. So, コロナが wait, I need to actually think it. How would you do コロナさえなければ? You should do コロナさえなければ. Sorry, I had to really think about how you say this. Yeah, there you go. コロナさえなければを横目で見るもとにするスマートかな. Oh, 横目で見ること. Yeah, you could do that too. 横目 means like the side of your eyes. You do like this. Can you tell when I do that? I'm not sure. My excellency instead of eyes describing the first person pronoun. Yeah, let me back to that. この天才の私. So this is kind of like you would say like I, the genius. Right? Genius. comma, dot, dot, dot. Now, in English, usually, most of the time, if you do this in English, kind of sounds weird or silly. There's places where it fits, or you would have like something like me being an idiot, or like being me being young, comma, I didn't realize, etc. Right, something like that. This just in Japanese, because of how no can work, this is really easy to do. You can literally just kind of plop it in front of the watashi, because watashi, just like any other pronoun slash noun, can be described with any amount of other either adjectives or other nouns using no. So you can say この天才の私ですら. Even I, the genius, right? Even this genius me, even me, the genius, わからなかった. I didn't understand. So even I, being a genius, didn't understand this. Like this sura, like if I don't understand it, who's supposed to understand it, right? Kind of like that. Supersize me. Gotta double down, use the ye ore here. 我が輩。この天才の我が輩ですら。わからぬとでも言うのか? わからん。Too much. Go back. It's like that meme with the backspace. Go back. Press it, everyone. Press it, chat. It's time to go back. You, a pleb, find that show amazing. Yeah, there you go. You could say something like, バカのあなた。バカなあなたが。こういうよ。こういうのね。I don't know. Something like that. All right. Well, there you go. That, ladies and gentlemen, was already it. There's not much more to it. So let's review, okay? And do a quick review of this. I am gonna get back these examples. So then just kind of like no reading sesh. I don't know if I will do reading. If I do reading today, I'll probably do it after the stream. Because I found that like reading on stream is like, it's good for exposure, I guess, but it's not really great in terms of like enjoyability for just people watching the stream only. And it's also putting the people that participate a bit on the spot, I guess. Maybe it's easier for people to participate when it's not actually live on stream. 宿題が多すぎて. So let's just go through these examples again to sort of review what we did, right? 宿題が多すぎてトイレに行く時間さえなかった. I had so much homework. I didn't even, not even, remember usually with negatives, right? If we have a negative here, usually turns into not even. Didn't even have time to go to the toilet. お金さえあれば. And the other takeaway point, often さえ combined with conditionals. So the ifs and the thens, right? Or the whens. お金さえあれば. If only I had money. 何でもできるよ. I could do anything. Just like in that song by ABBA. ビタミンを食べさえすれば. Another one that you'll see very often. Action さえ plus する. Like 食べさえすれば, right? If as long as you do that. That one this is the one where you'll most likely gonna see the must stem, right? Must stem. It doesn't have to be する after it, but very often when you have a must stem さえ you might see a する afterwards. Once again, like we see here する just kind of coming into the rescue when we just need any verb, okay? I would compare this a lot to how you end up with tari tari suru, where we just kind of need a verb to tie it all up. It's like the bow at the end, you know? Thank you for following Bella783. Follow, arigatou gozaimasu. When you need like that bow at the end, you know, to just tie it all up, to make it work, to finish the clause, it's usually suru. Suru just comes in. That's why, you know, and it's similar in English with to do, where sometimes, you know, to do just kind of comes in to be the verb, to just kind of do that. So yeah, this is kind of hard to really explain, but it's usually how it works, right? It do be like that, yeah. Like he does do that, doesn't he? Then we just like add another to do just to like emphasize it. There's no reason to. There's a reason because that's what it means. That's how you would express it, I guess. But yeah, that's just kind of the point I'm trying to make is here that like once again, suru just kind of comes in to just be the verb, right? To just be the verb that we can use to finish the clause, basically. Doesn't always have to be like that, but very often you'll see must stem sae suru or something like that. Yeah, and then usually it'll be some sort of conditional. Because people like to say as long as you if you do that at the very least, then something else. That's just a very convenient thing to say. And then here the other version being as we discussed, te plus te plus sae plus like auxiliary. And the auxiliary is just what you would have usually. I'm late. You're a little bit late, yes. And those are basically our 4 cases, right? There's not much more to it than that. There you go. Agglutination at its finest, I suppose. Yes, it's okay. I was late too. Yeah, there you go. Do you have any questions about that? Oh, I guess. And the other thing that we need to mention is that that wasn't written anywhere, but I feel confident enough to say this. It wasn't in the notes actually. Oh, today what I used as like a source of example sentences and as an inspiration for the type of topic I want to do was the Taikem article. So you can go read about it here. Did this work? I don't know. Maybe it is not a partial URL, right? Just check if it's correct. I'm not sure if I accidentally deleted part of the URL, but I don't think I did. So that was my inspiration for today, and I got like the example sentences were sourced from Taikem. Go check it out. He doesn't actually talk about the particles here, or I missed it. It could be that. No, I don't think he talks about it, but I still feel confident to say this, that so sae would usually replace something like a subject or object marker. So what you wouldn't see, again, it just sounds so weird to me that I'm confident that it's wrong. Just trust my feeling on it, I guess. But you wouldn't see sae ga. I don't think you would see this. I feel kind of confident to say like you shouldn't say sae ga or sae o. Shukudai. Yeah, it just sounds super wrong. I feel pretty confident to say that this is not going to happen, and all as well. The only one that we saw that you might have is actually mo. You might actually have mo. Sae mo. So you might have mo for additional inclusiveness or emphasis, as mo often does. Include other stuff. Mo is, in a way, mo is the most liberal particle. It's the most inclusive. It's all about including stuff, or I guess emphasizing quantities. Is that, I don't know if that's liberal, maybe. All right, ladies and gents, that was it. That was the lesson for today. We will now move on to the next part of the programming, which is stuff. The only thing confusing me is the part for nouns when to include, and there's no difference. Usually, yes, we can talk about that again. Usually, if you included, all it does is just that it sounds more emphatic. It's like more emphasis. What's another one you could do? What's like a comparison? Sometimes there's these things in Japanese where they're like the same, but one of them just sounds like it's like plus 10%. It's like if you want to add that extra spice, the salt, like that. So yeah, like you'd say like tabemono de sae. Yeah, or something like yasai de sae taberare nakatta. He couldn't even eat vegetables. So it's like kodomo de sae wakaru yo. Kodomo sae wakaru yo. Do you feel a difference? Kodomo de sae wakaru yo. Kodomo sae wakaru yo. I feel like it's mostly the same, but yeah, I guess like it's like the difference between saying even children and even children, maybe. But it's pretty subtle there. It's just one of those things where it's kind of subtle. I might use the former. I might use kodomo de sae. Like I probably use that one just out of like convenient or out of like feeling. I probably go with that. It just sounds kind of nicer, but I don't think there's like a big difference there. Yeah, maybe someone else has a better input on it. Maybe a native speaker has like a good input on it. But as far as I know, it doesn't sound very different to me. Yeah. Miwa says there isn't much. Yeah, that's good. We agree then. It's pretty subtle. That could be that originally only one was correct or something. It could be that originally you were only supposed to add it after de or whatever, and then over time it became okay both ways. I'm not sure about that. That would be something we would have to look into. That'd be more difficult to find that kind of information, but yeah. All right, I will end the recording now. Feel free to keep asking questions. I'm just not going to have that in the recording, but I'm not going offline. I'll keep streaming, so you can keep asking if you have anything on your mind whatsoever. It doesn't have to be about the lesson, because the lesson is, for all intents and purposes, kind of over now, and we'll move on to other things. So thank you for watching, if you're watching the recording of this, and I'll see you in the next one, whatever that will be. Who knows? You're gonna ask the Oracle of Delphi or something, or some other oracle of your choice, whichever is closest to you. I'm not sure if you're Greek, so yeah, there you go. Good luck.